before you disappear into tonight's nightmare. If you love terrifying horror stories, creepy creatures, cryptid encounters, haunted places, and nightmares that stick with you long after the video ends, you've found the right place. Welcome to the Nightmare Zoo, where every story pulls you deeper into the darkness. I'm on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers, and I'd love your help. If you're enjoying the stories, please take just a second to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment. Every subscription brings this channel one step closer to that goal and helps more horror fans discover these nightmares. If you're brave enough, turn on notifications, because you never know when the next creature will be waiting in the shadows. Thank you for being part of the Nightmare Zoo. Now, lock your doors, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's nightmare. The Great Lakes Mystery. What is dragging campers into the deep water? Entry 1. Found in a waterlogged notebook. Whitefish Point Campground. Site the 14th of August 3rd. Can't sleep. Probably nothing. No wind, no waves. Just that low fog that rolls in off the water around 9 p.m. and doesn't leave until the sun's fully up. My daughter kept saying the fog looked like it was breathing. I told her fog doesn't breathe. I've started to wonder if I was wrong about that. Around midnight, I heard something drag across the sand outside the tent. Slow, rhythmic, like a canoe being pulled ashore, except we didn't bring a canoe. Sunk deep into the wet sand, like something heavy had been standing there for a very long time before it decided to move. They led straight into the water and didn't come back out. Entry 2. Same notebook, next page, handwriting less steady. The ranger station has had its lights on all night for 3 nights running. I walked up there yesterday to ask about the footprints, and a young ranger, couldn't have been older than 25, looked at me like I'd asked him to confirm a rumor he'd been ordered not to discuss. He said, "Stay above the tide line after dark. Don't camp within 50 yards of the water. If you hear tapping on the hull of your kayak, don't answer it." Then he walked away before I could ask what answering it would even look like. I asked another ranger, older, gray at the temples, whether they'd had incidents before. He said the lake takes people every year. Riptides, cold shock, hypothermia in June, if you can believe it. Statistically explainable, all of it. But he wouldn't meet my eyes when he said it, and his hand was shaking around his coffee cup. Statistics don't leave footprints that only go one direction. Entry 3. Recovered from a phone found in a capsized canoe. Grand Marais Public Access. I'm recording this because if something happens to me, I want there to be proof it wasn't just cold water and bad judgment, which is what they'll say. That's always what they say. 3 nights ago, my brother went missing from our site on Grand Island. We'd fallen asleep with the rain fly open because it was warm, and I woke up because the tent was moving, not flapping in wind, sliding an inch at a time toward the water, like something was hauling the whole structure by the stakes. I grabbed my brother's ankle, and for one single second, I felt something else his hold of his other leg, something cold. Not cold like lake water. Cold like meat that's been in a freezer. It was pale, long. I only saw it in the light of my phone for half a heartbeat before he was gone. Bending in places an elbow shouldn't bend, and it moved like it was reaching from somewhere much farther away than the shoreline should have allowed. I heard him call my name twice from the water, not screaming. That's the part I can't get past. He didn't scream. He called my name the way you'd call it if you wanted me to come see something, calm, almost happy, and then the surface just closed back up like a mouth. I paddled out looking. The water was maybe 40 degrees. Nothing could survive down there long enough to drag a grown man anywhere and still have the strength to hold him under. Nothing that's supposed to exist, anyway. Entry 4, Park Ranger Incident Log. Page torn out and mailed anonymously to a Marquette newspaper. Never printed subject reports. Shapes beneath the dock at 0230 hours. Subject describes limbs the color of a drowned fish's belly, extending from beneath the pier in numbers inconsistent with any known lake fauna. Subject was advised to return to vehicle. Subject refused, stating the vehicle was too close to the water and requesting relocation to the ranger station itself. Note appended in different handwriting, pressed hard enough to tear the paper. We are not equipped for this. Recommend closure of shoreline sites pending further study. Denied by district office for the third time. They say it's bad for tourism season. Tourism season ends when the season's out of tourists. Entry 5 survivor account, name withheld, taken during a hospital intake interview. I want to be clear, I was not drunk. I was not on anything. I have never had a hallucination in my life, and I would like someone, anyone, to explain to me in scientific terms what I watched happen to my wife. I woke up because the temperature in the tent dropped so fast, my breath fogged in front of my face, like someone had opened a walk-in freezer inside our nylon dome. My wife was already sitting up, and she wasn't afraid. That's the detail that haunts me most. She looked toward the tent flap, the way you'd look at a friend arriving to pick you up. She said, "It's just checking," very quietly, and then she unzipped the tent herself and walked out into the dark on her own 2 feet. I followed. I saw it in full for the only time in my life. It was standing at the waterline, tall in a wrong way, its limbs too long for its torso, by a factor that made my mind refuse the image, even while my eyes were sending it. Its skin, if it was skin, had the sheen of something that had never once seen sunlight, the pale of things that live under rocks, under ice, at the bottom of trenches no diver has ever mapped. It didn't have a face I could describe, except that I felt looked at, assessed, the way you'd assess livestock, or a meal you were deciding whether you were hungry enough for yet. It reached one arm, impossibly, past the tree line, past where an arm that length should exist, and closed a hand made of too many fingers around my wife's wrist, gently, almost tenderly, and drew her toward the water at a walking pace, like it had all the time in the world and no reason to hurry. I grabbed her other arm. I have never pulled harder against anything in my life, and it didn't even seem to register the resistance. It didn't yank her from me. It simply continued at the same unhurried pace, and I felt my grip fail one finger at a time, like trying to hold a rope that's slowly being fed through your hands by something far stronger on the other end. She never screamed either. None of them ever seemed to scream. Entry 6. Final page, notebook charred at the edges, recovered from a fire ring at an abandoned site on the Upper Peninsula shore. If you are reading this, you are close enough to the water that it already knows you're here. I don't think it hunts the way an animal hunts. I think it studies. The rangers who go quiet, the footprints that only go one way, the ones who walk out calm instead of fighting. I think it has learned, over however many decades or centuries it's had to learn, exactly which nights the fog will cover it, exactly which campers sleep closest to the tide line, exactly how long it can hold a person under before their body stops being useful to it and starts merely being weight. It is patient in a way nothing that hunts by instinct alone can afford to be. Instinct is fast, hungry, sloppy. This is neither. This is something that has been doing this so long it no longer needs to hurry, because it has already learned that the shoreline will always, eventually, deliver someone close enough to the water's edge, someone who will hear tapping against their tent and think raccoon, someone who will feel that sudden freezer-cold air and think front moving in, someone who will wake to watch a person they love walk calmly toward the surf and, for one fatal half-second, wonder if they're only sleepwalking. Move your tent back from the water, all the way back. Don't camp near piers or docks after dark. If someone beside you sits up in the night and looks toward the shore with a calm, pleasant expression on their face, do not let them unzip the tent. Do not let go of their arm, no matter how gently it seems to be pulling. And if you ever hear your name called from open water, softly, patiently, like it has all the time in the world to wait for your answer. Don't.